Well, good evening, this is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 29th of March. And Article 13, Article 11. What are they and what do they mean for the world of internet sharing? That's the topic for this evening. And a very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for returning to my channel, and also a shout out to those who are coming here for the first time. I hope you like this information, and we'll continue to return, like, comment and subscribe. Well, we managed to stop PIPA. This is the Protect Intellectual Property Act, and we managed to stop SOPA. This is the Stop Online Privacy Act. And now here we have the EU's version of copyright control in Article 11 and Article 13. What this is going to do is basically kill any internet sharing of things that you see on the internet. News articles, stories, this kind of stuff, pictures, anything. Absolutely anything that we share today is going to fall under this Copyright Act. And I can fully appreciate that they should be paid for their work. But it's the way this legislation is going to be enacted which is really the problem. Because, you know, right now, basically, what happens on YouTube, for example, if you have a copyright infringement, it is up to the person who feels that you have infringed on their copyright to contact YouTube and to make a copyright claim against your video. But if that doesn't happen, basically you are free to post anything that you like, obviously within the bounds of good taste and decency, but by and large, you know, there isn't an issue with that kind of stuff. Well, what Article 13 is going to force platforms to do is to build some kind of filter so that they will be responsible for any copyright infractions that happen on their platform. And this doesn't just mean YouTube, this means Facebook, this means Google, this means Google Mail, this means Hotmail, Yahoo Mail. Any platform will have to have some kind of upload filter. Now, of course, what's going to happen is that these things are expensive, if it's even possible to build some kind of a filter like that. But you can see that many new platforms are just not going to be able to comply with those requirements, and so they are probably not going to be able to either start up or stay in business. And the larger platforms that can afford to put these upload filters in place, I think would tend to be more stringent than lax in what they filter out. Now, so this would mean, for example, if you see an article that you want to share with a friend through email, it will get blocked. That email, I don't know how they will do it, whether they'll stop the email or they will just return it to you and say there is a copyright infraction taking place here, and it won't go through until you remove the copyright infraction. You go on your Facebook page and all of those little articles and snippets of news that people are sharing with all of their friends about things that they've seen worldwide or in their local community or so on and so forth, that'll be gone. That will not be allowed at all. So what's that old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions? And interestingly enough, when it came to the vote in the EU, they actually changed the order of voting, and this confused several voters. This article passed with only 7 votes to spare. Okay, and there are now 15 or 16 MEPs, that's the member of European Parliament, who have said that they were confused and they voted the wrong way. They wanted to vote Article 13 and Article 11 down, and basically the EU has said tough bananas. Ain't that nice? And you know, I find it fascinating that they're always spouting about democracy, and yet, and you know, even the president was confused by the reordering of the questions. And so you can see that an understandable mistake was made by the MEPs, and they should be allowed to take that vote again. It's not like it was the order hadn't been changed, or they're just sort of saying, oh well, you know, I didn't read the question properly. No. That's your job, is to read the question properly. But when the order of the questions has been changed and there is confusion by several people over the same issue, then that vote should, especially when it's close, you know, just like we have a recount. In politics, when there is a very close margin, you're allowed to have a recount to make sure that there hasn't been a mistake made. Because at the end of the day, that is what these people in the European Parliament are meant to be doing, is to representing the best wishes of the people. And that clearly has not been done here today. Anyway, let's flip over to these a couple of articles that I found, and then we'll come back and do a quick wrap up. Okay, here we go. What is Article 13? The EU's divisive new copyright plan explained. Article 13 of the EU's new copyright directive has sparked huge controversy online, with YouTube campaigning strongly against the proposal. We explain why. Big changes are coming to online copyright across the European Union. After years of debate and negotiations, politicians have passed sweeping changes following a final vote in the European Parliament. The changes have proved controversial, with critics being opposed to two specific parts of the law, Article 11 and Article 13. They form part of the wider regulations which were passed. The European Union Directive on Copyright in the Digital Single Market, to use its full name, requires the likes of YouTube, Facebook and Twitter to take more responsibility for copyrighted material being shared illegally on their platforms. It has become known by the most controversial segment, Article 13, which critics claim will have a detrimental impact on creators online. YouTube and YouTubers have become the most vocal opponents of the proposal. But despite Article 13 and the Directive on Copywriting being passed by EU regulators, it will now have to be implemented by the individual countries within the Union. To help clear things up, here's Wire's guide to the EU Directive on Copyright. The Directive on Copyright would make online platforms and aggressor sites liable for copyright infringements and supposedly direct more revenue from tech giants towards artists and journalists. Currently, platforms such as YouTube aren't responsible for copyright violations, although they must remove that content when directed to do so by the rights holders. Proponents of the Directive on Copyright argue that this means that people are listening to, watching and reading copyrighted material without the creators being properly paid for it. So what does it mean? Boiled down, all this article is saying is that any websites that host large amounts of user-generated content, think YouTube, Twitter and Facebook, are responsible for taking down that content if it infringes on copyright. But things aren't quite that simple. No one can quite agree how these platforms are expected to identify and remove this content. An earlier version of the directive referred to proportionate content recognition technologies, which sounds an awful lot like it's asking platform owners to use automated filters to scan every piece of uploaded content and stop anything that might violate copyright from being uploaded. The final wording of Article 13 sets out exactly which platforms will need upload filters and which ones won't. The only way a site that hosts user-generated content can avoid putting in place an upload filter is if it fulfills all three of the following criteria. It has been available for fewer than 3 years. It has an annual turnover below 10 million euros. It has fewer than 5 million unique monthly visitors. As you can probably guess, this means a huge number of sites, from phishing forums to niche social networks, that will need to install upload filters. Article 11, aka the link tax, explained. The article intends to get news aggregator sites such as Google News to pay publishers for using snippets of their articles on their platforms. Press publications may obtain fair and proportionate remuneration for the digital use of their press publications by information society service providers, the directive states. And no one is really sure how this one would work either. How much of an article has to be shared before the platform has to pay the publisher? The directive states that platforms won't have to pay if they're sharing mere hyperlinks, which are accompanied by individual words. But since most links are accompanied by more than a couple of words, it seems that many platforms and news aggregators would fall foul of this rule. What else is there? Article 12A might stop anyone who isn't the official organizer of a sports match from posting any videos or photos of that match. This could put a stop to viral sports GIFs and might even stop people who attend matches from posting photos to social media. But as with the articles above, all of this depends on how the directive is interpreted by member states when they make it into national law. When is Article 13 happening? Although the Article 13 vote has been passed by the European Parliament, this doesn't mean its provisions take place straight away.
It will now be up to the EU's member states to enact Article 13 and the Copyright Directive. Each country within the EU will be able to interpret the law and how it should be implemented in its own ways. Therefore, one country may decide that upload filters should be implemented using one tool, while another may understand the law in a different way. And here we go from Tech Dirt. Enough MPs say they mistakenly voted for Articles 11 and 13, that the vote should have flipped. EU Parliament says, too bad. Earlier today we wrote about the terrible vote by the EU Parliament to approve the Copyright Directive, including the dangerous Articles 11 and 13. As we noted in the original post, the key vote was whether to allow amendments that could have deleted those two articles. That vote failed by just 5 votes, 317 to 312. Unfortunately, soon after the vote was finalised, a few MEPs who voted against the plan for amendments, Peter Lundgren and Krista Winberg, said they voted incorrectly and meant to vote for the amendments in order to get rid of Articles 11 and 13. Apparently someone changed the vote order, which threw them off. What happened was that in the middle of a sitting meeting, it was decided to make an adjustment in the order of voting itself. This did not appear in a clear way, where the President was also somewhat confused. EU Parliament says, too bad.
Now, of course, the big concern here by the people who voted against Article 13 and Article 11 are concerned that this is going to spill over into freedom of speech. And as I say, everyone understands that you should get paid for work that you've done as an artist and so on and so forth, but implementing this, and I really think that in North America here we actually have the correct plan. You get to post what you want on YouTube or send to your friends via email and so on and so forth, and it is up to the person who feels that they have had a copyright infringement to contact YouTube and make a claim. And this is not quite so hard as you might think, because I've had a couple of copyright claims made against my some of my videos where I've used a piece of music, or I've used a video clip within my video that has a copyright on it. What I found out is that they got that piece of music because there are algorithms out there today which can scour the internet looking for voice signatures, musical signatures, word signatures, word sequence signatures, and that's how they found the clips on my videos. And of course that is eminently possible. And of course I'm sure that you have, I know I certainly have, paid for a song to be downloaded onto my hard drive. It's a minor cost, sometimes $1.50 per song. That's pretty reasonable. It works out to the average cost of a CD that you might buy of a particular musician, but maybe you don't want to buy a whole CD. This way that money goes directly to the artist and you get the song. We don't need to have CDs anymore. That whole concept now is obsolete because I downloaded all of my music onto a chip. I don't know how many thousands of songs, and that chip went into the media player in my car. And so I don't need to have a CD. I don't need to play endless CDs. I just need to download a particular song. Then I can make up the song list that I want to listen to. Okay, so I think this is a much better way to go. You pay the artist directly. The artist gets direct benefit. And of course, who is pushing all of this? All of the usual suspects. There's Time Warner, there is Sony, there is CBS, there is NBC, MSNBC, CNN, all of these big corporations who will be able to afford to buy these upload filters and do things that way. So, I don't know, I'm just a little tired of the corporate world taking over my life. Now, we don't have this in North America yet, but it will be coming this way if we do not pay attention. Bell Media would love to have this kind of thing going on. Okay, so we as citizens and internet users have to pay close attention to legislation that is being passed by government, and we must at all costs stop this kind of legislation because it is going to kill any kind of creativity on the internet. It's going to kill any kind of sharing on the internet. It is not good for freedom of speech, and it is not good for us, the public. Okay, well, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Hound Dog Steve signing off, wishing you a great weekend coming up, and we will talk to you very, very soon. See you now. Bye.